we can talk about Forge, but I have my sheet here and I have a question mark because they haven't announced any signings or re-signings or anything like that. So obviously they played, not even that long ago in the CONCACAF League, which they botched badly and unfortunately didn't get into Champions League, but lessons learned there. So what do we make of Forge? Obviously they're going to go in as favorites. The pundits are going to pick them because they've won two in a row. What do we think of Bobby's club?
Well, the pundits are idiots because they've lost David Edgar. They're probably going to lose Daniel Kreutzen. So right away they practically need a new back line. That's my number one thing for them is they need a new back line. And where's that going to come from? Are they going to sign a bunch of kids out of Sigma? Is Bobby just going to call his brother up and say, who are the best CBs we got and just sign them up or what? And I mean, the thing is, though, is that Forge doesn't play with the same rules that the other clubs in the league do because their CEO happens to be the CEO of Canada Soccer Business. And there's really no conflict of interest there now, is there? But, they got Mobile Bully still up top. They have Anthony Novak, who, in my opinion, is the most underrated player in the entire league. When Novak is on the pitch, things happen. I mean, that goal he scored for them in the CONCACAF League in the first match against, or was it against? Yeah. It was against that. What were they called? The Salvadoran squad. Was that Antigua? Was that what they were called?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Call them the Salvadoran squad.
Yeah. So against the Salvadoran squad. Sorry, I have to be a little bit quieter. My daughter just went to bed. So yeah, I mean, that goal he scored against that Salvadoran squad in the first match of the CONCACAF League was phenomenal. I mean, I don't understand how he hasn't had a trial in Europe. That's how highly I rate Anthony Novak. In my opinion, FC Edmonton should bend over backwards. Actually, any of the clubs in the CPL should bend over backwards to sign him away from Forge and make him a paired starter, a two up top, because I think he's even more effective when you have a second striker. When him and Babuli were playing off each other, there were a lot happening. Forge were just offensively dominant. New back line. I really look forward to how Henry is going to screw over his club again in absolute amazing fashion. What he did in that match against Arcahaie was absolutely legendary. And I mean, it was all him. I don't care what people say about a poor back pass. He had all the time in the world, and he just absolutely cocked it up amazingly. So, I mean, yeah, Forge is it's easy to root against them, but at the same time, they're always going to be a competitor. They're always going to be fighting for the top. So it's hard to talk about them.
I think it's good that, they've won twice and that they have a little bit of hate because I think every league needs a villain. And right now Forge is that villain. Mm-hmm. And I think it's good that there is this kind of hatred because, the first couple of years, everyone's like, oh yeah, good for you. And let's cheer for Forge in CONCACAF League. And now people are like, we watched what you did. And I'll agree with you, Sally. I've never been big on Tristan Henry. I know he's Golden Glove, whatever. I'm still stuck on first half of the year from 2019 Tristan Henry when he was garbage. Like, I don't think there's any other way to put it. Was he much better in the fall of 2019? Absolutely. He was much better. But I'm in my head, I think I'm just stuck on that first year. And so I still don't trust him. And of course, what kind of trust do you have after, whatever happened against that hate?
Well, I mean, first off, what an absolute joke that Golden Glove award was. That was Christian Oxner's through and through. He took him and Garcia took Halifax to the final, and he got snubbed on that Golden Glove. That was such a joke. I was disgusted with that awarding. I'm sorry, that's all I can say. Anyway, good, Jeff. You better take over because I'm going off on a tangent here.
Yeah. No, listen, I mean, for me, it's just a question of if they do lose Kreutzen, how do they replace their two, big center halves? And now that being said, the flip side of that is Bobby also has the largest network of any coach in the league, of any manager in this league. And so he'll fill it, and as far as the comment about Sigma Academy, I mean, he's won 2 CPL championships on the back of a lot of Sigma Academy players. So credit to them. Yeah, listen, just a well-coached team. At the end of the day, Bobby deserves his due. So you might look at that award and say, okay, maybe someone else should have got it, but Bobby's won 2 championships. He's tactically shown his qualities as a leader and as a football man, and he's yet to be coach of the year. I mean, that's the bigger question to me. But not that the other 2 weren't deserving, because certainly Hardy was deserving, and so was Tommy in year 1. But my goodness, this so as long as Bobby's in charge of Forge, they're gonna have a chance to win a championship. Because I rate his tactical qualities that high.
I would.
Yeah.
Sorry, JP. I just wanted to say I was fully behind Stephen Hart winning Coach of the Year from the Island Games, because I looked at it this way: if I had the players Bobby had, I could have got them to the second round. If I had the players Hardy had, I don't get past the first round, and he took them to the final. So in my opinion, that's why Hardy was a good shout for Coach of the Year. Not to take anything away from Bobby, because as you said, tactically he's really good, like brilliant tactician. But for that instance, I was pro Hardy.
Oh yeah, no, listen, you can't even debate that part of it. It's just, but you see the whole thing with awards, though. I mean, here's a man that's won 2, and the other 2 were deserving. I mean, Tommy was deserving in year 1 with that what he did in the league play, for sure, and Stephen was deserving this year. And you can't give it to 2 people, but I mean, I don't, honestly, for me, especially when it comes to the players, I don't get too involved or worried about the awards, and yeah, and I don't really want to talk about, the mistake for Henry, just because no one feels worse about it than he does.
Awards are just for us fans and pundits.
And I'll tell you what, having been on the sideline and having dealt with these players for 2 years now, and then 8 before that as an assistant, the game is really easy for us who watch it. So I'll leave my comment at that. But anyhow, all right.
It's too bad that Bobby can't coach the mistakes out of Tristan's game, but we'll leave it there.
Take a short jaunt to York United, not York 9, and I will say that probably a couple times before it gets out of my system. York United, big moves. They're going overhaul, it looks like, guys. What do you think of everybody they brought in?
So how did they manage to sign Krstinovich and Sa away from Halifax? He was, besides Garcia, probably Halifax's best player.
They signed his brother. They signed his brother.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Well, I know, but I mean, I guess it must have come part and parcel. I don't know. But what a little piece of business to sign him away from Halifax. I mean, he is going to be an anchor in a good way. He's just going to be a key piece of that squad this coming season. That's how highly I rate him as a player. He was so key to Halifax's run at the Island Games. And I just see him being a massive piece of that starting 11 now for York United.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, a bit of an unknown. I mean, it's going to be a fun kind of team to watch, a fun experiment to watch, because this is going to be kind of, the CPL's version of Moneyball, in that, using a lot of analytics and a lot of analysis to bring in young international players, add to them a lot of young Canadian players that, have been through the TFC system, Montreal Impact system. So they've gone very, very young. They've almost now decided in year 3 to do a bit of a reset and almost do the Pacific thing. Now with this reset, I like it. At the end of the day, we can say what we want about rosters, and we can say that they underachieved in the past. But at the end of the day, did they? In two straight years.
Just had them middle of the pack. I don't know why everybody thought was so high on them.
Yeah. So that's exactly my point. So why not? Why not then? Okay, so you've had the roster for 2 years, very similar roster for 2 years. It's not worked out. So they're going to try this other route. I like it, because what do you have to lose? Different kind of leadership, though, obviously, with Angus McNabb there and being really into analytics. So yeah, so we'll see if it works out, though. I mean, this will be the big test of it, isn't it? Because a lot of these young players that he's brought in, all the internationals are young as well, and so they could be a fun team to watch. It could be, these could be those kind of 5-4 games. They just try to outscore teams because even all the players they've signed, all the internationals, they're all forwards. They all seem like they're strikers, and I think they've got 4 strikers on the team. And now, when you look at the re-signing of Max Ferrari, and they also re-signed, who else? Petrasso has been re-signed. These are all forwards, and all winger type players, and they're loaded, and all their internationals are those positions as well. I think one of them might be a number 6, but yeah. So they'll be fun. I mean, yeah, I'm looking forward to, Paul Stelteri also was a youth coach for our country. Jimmy was a youth coach with TFC as well. So maybe the idea of having so many young players, those might be the right 2 guys for them, to get them over the hump because of their experience with young players. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, that was a great segue into what I want to talk about with York, is how crazy their international signings have looked, in the sense of not a single one, I don't think, is on the defensive end of the ball. I think all 6 maybe it's all 7 at this point that they've signed internationally are all some type of attacking player. I mean, and that's why I actually think they are also one of the front runners for the league this season, because the one thing that this league has really proven to me is the impact that the international signings are able to make on these squads, and the impact that those players are able to make on how well their club does in the league as a whole. And I think we really saw it, for example, with Halifax last year, and how much Akeem Garcia and Alex Marshall had an impact on their play on the offensive side of the ball. I think we've seen it where a player like Paulo Sabac has replaced Tristan Borges. I mean, maybe not to the same extent. He's not quite the player that Borges is, but regardless, we've seen these internationals come in, and York has at least six new internationals who are coming in. Yes, they're all young. They aren't necessarily proven as maybe you'd want an international player to be, but
right.
These are six offensive players who could just come out in a starting 11 and completely change the way that York plays football. And the great, probably really excellent players for York's younger Canadians to be training with as well. You're just going to get a different flavor in training, a different type of intensity that these players have come from. I think that's something that a lot of people always talk about with Canadian players, is they don't quite have that same level of intensity that in training that you might get in different parts of the world, especially South America and Europe. So yeah, I would do the Tom Hanks preseason bet on York United winning the league, like how he won on betting on Leicester. I would put that money on York United being that surprise, at least contender. If not league winner, then at least contender. They're exciting.
I put that one in the book.
There you go.
Obviously,
Right.
York maybe taking the Toronto Maple Leafs approach. We'll just try to outscore all of our problems at the back end.
There you go.
So, sometimes it works. And JP, you mentioned analytics. I do want to give a shout out to young Sam.
Sam Reynolds.
Young Sam Reynolds, yeah. Their analytics guy who just announced today, we're recording on Thursday, he's moving to Inter Miami of MLS to be their director of analytics. So
yeah,
EPL for Canadian players, for Canadian staff, and there's one of our boys making a move to the big league. So
it's awesome.
shout out to,
congrats to him.
Sam.
Good
Yeah.
show.
Let's go on to Ottawa. This is a tough one for me. You saw them for 7 matches. Acuna was their team, and then I had a bunch of questions, and they only have 4 guys signed right now. So I don't really know. Maybe we could just glaze over Ottawa. I don't want to, but I mean, I don't really know what to say. Mista's got some work to do, and obviously signings are coming.
Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day. It's like no one signed. Week for PEI. 17 guys signed. It's the way it feels. No, I am glad though. McKendry was just re-signed. Love that signing. I like Ben McKendry. Obviously came through here on loan. Ben Fisk, he's back. Love that. So I think at least that you've got these 2 kind of solid Canadian pros that are going to be part of that roster. But yeah, Acuna, you can't replace him because he was the most talented player that the league has seen to date. So how do you replace him? We'll see. But I'm glad for the two Bens. I'm happy to see them back in the league, so and playing there. But otherwise, yeah, what do you say? They've got 4 guys. So
Well, it's interesting because I was chatting on Twitter earlier today, and I mentioned how I felt that, Ottawa just lost the best player that the CPL has ever seen in Acuna. I mean, he was just heads and tails more quality than any other player that's been in the league to date. And Stu McTaggart came and tweeted me back saying, well, you're going to be really interested in seeing who Ottawa has just penned to replace Acuna. And he's going to be a big, big signing. He didn't say anything more because that's Stu's style. He likes being Mr. Secretly Insider with the club. Probably a secret Iron Brew swiller as well. You'll have to answer that on Twitter. But yeah, so it's tough. I mean, I had a couple of things regarding Ottawa. I mean, it's nice to see that Shaw's been re-signed up top. I think he really started to come on later on in the Island games when he was getting minutes. He banged in a couple, and I think over the course of the season, he would probably be one of the top 5 to 6 scorers in the league. Honestly, I think that's his potential. Along with that, I really don't rate the Bens. I know everybody seems to have this big love-in for McKendry and Fisk, especially the guys out in Vancouver Island. But I don't know. I've never really seen what the big deal is with both Ben McKendry and Ben Fisk. I just don't see them as being these match-changing, commanding midfielders. I don't know. Maybe you see something a little bit different being on the actual managerial side of the ball, if you will. But I just don't see them having really that much in the middle of the park to cause teams that much of a problem.
yeah, for me, they're both good pros. It starts with that. They both do the right things in training, away from training. Ben McKendry's a winner. He's a fierce warrior. I came in late again, so I don't want to use. I think Ben McKendry the full season under his belt, full season of training, you'll see a different Ben McKendry than you saw in PEI. I think that was, and he plus he got injured in PEI and still played well injured, as a few players on that team did. With Ben Fisk, I mean, just an attacking threat. He's got ability to dribble. So, yeah, I mean, I would take either one, but
I think
all right.
personally, I'm getting to know them. We'll always give you that little bit of bias, and I was the same way as they were there at the end of the NASL days. McKendry came in on that short loan stint, and Fiske was there the whole time. The other players they have are Evan John and Bashan Newville. They re-signed today as well. They announced on their account. So good.
Yeah, he's got something. He's got something. Yeah, he's a threat.
It's a good start for Ottawa, and they obviously work to do for Mista and crew. Jeff is just making some camera changes. That's fine. HFX is our final stop on our cross-country tour. They have 15 on the roster right now. They got their 2 draft picks as well, Firth and Ruby from last year. They're the only U21s on the roster right now too, so Hardy's got something to do there. But the darlings of the league last year, everybody wanted them to knock off Forge in that final. They couldn't do it, but is HFX a team on the way up, or was that just kind of a nice little boost from a shortened season in a bubble?
Well, it'll be interesting if the other managers adopt a Bobby type strategy against them. They were vicious on the counterattack, and the 3 goals they scored against us were pace. They beat us. They just beat us in behind, and but that was their strength. Garcia obviously had a breakout season. He'll continue that forward. Great player. He'll be fun to watch. But yeah, so how do teams approach him going forward now? Because you saw what Bobby did in the final was take away the space to play in behind them, and he let them have the ball a bit longer, made them build up instead of be able to counterattack. And you're almost kind of seeing, if I can relate that right now to what you're seeing with poor Liverpool team at the moment. Well, teams now are taking away the space in behind for Mane and Salah to run. And if you take that space in behind away from those 2 players, they become less effective players when they're playing in front of you. And so it'll be, can they manage when teams start to do that to them? That'll be the first question, I think, to ask Halifax. I like their signings because, they lose Ensa, great, but then they go and get Donor. So they've brought in another player that is shown as a right fullback and play in this league as a starter, contribute 90 minutes and can get up and down the field as well. So I think that's a good replacement for them. I think that, good replacement. And then obviously a massive announcement the other day, so just another, piece of the puzzle for them, a bit more presence for them, good experience in the midfield with Lapierre. So,
Oh, is that Gagnon Lapierre you're talking about?
yeah, my younger brother.
I never even thought about that. Maybe, okay.
Yeah. But but he's keeping the core. It looks like so I think they still have some signings to do. I don't know how many players were 1-year deals, how many free agents they have, Rampersad, Sissoko, I'm not sure. Although I might have read Rampersad was back, but Sissoko I've not heard anything on. So they do have some of their own in-house players to re-sign, because I do imagine they want to keep a large part of that core. Breakout year. Really glad for Hardy. Deserves it. He's Hardy's Hardy. So I'm really happy for him. But yeah, can they transition then from just being that counter-attack team now, if teams figure them out, and what pieces will they add to give them a different look?
Well, for me, I think one of the big things is, will Gerard and Shala's chemistry continue to grow? They had a very solid back line all through the Island games, and those two are really the reason for it. I mean, Shala had a great season yet again. You have some massive players on that Halifax squad, and Shala is definitely one of them. And Gerard came in and was a rock for them at the back as well. So if their chemistry can continue to grow, then I think all of a sudden you have easily another contender. I definitely still rate Halifax as probably one of the top 3 contenders this year. So basically be them, Cavalry, and York, I think, and maybe Forge. I mean, I guess I always underestimate Forge, but I really don't see them as one of those top 3 anymore. I wanted to quickly also talk about Mario Restrepo. I think he was absolute quality for them at the Island Games, and I mean that was with very short training period with them. He just slotted in to his role on the squad instantly and provided excellent cover for his midfield. So I see Restrepo still being there as being a massive positive. Gagnon Lapierre has tons of experience. I mean, he's been in some crazy matches with the Impact. He's played a massive role for Louisville in their USL campaign as well. So with those 2 players back again, maybe losing Sissoko isn't going to be such a massive loss if he doesn't come back. That Marshall Garcia combination up top, the 2 of their 3 players up top are just so dynamic. I mean, the way that those 2 connected at the Island Games, that goal that they scored against Forge, where Marshall played just the absolute inch perfect through ball for Garcia to latch onto. And I can't remember if he had more than one touch. He might have just hit that first time. But I mean, when you have a guy on the wing who can play in just inch perfect through balls like Marshall can, and then you have a consistent goal threat and a guy who just seems to be able to finish off chances at will, like Garcia, there's not really many other teams. I don't know if there really is another team yet in the league that has that 1-2 punch like Halifax does up top. Maybe you guys can help me out with this, but I'm trying to remember who the heck was playing that left side, that left wing for them, sort of that third role up top.
Oh, I think you got me there.
Rigi. Alessandro Rigi.
Oh, Alessandro Rigi. Okay.
Yeah, Rigi.
Yeah, and he's coming off bad injury. Like he was coming off of a previous really bad injury, and was, so there was some of those concerns, obviously, for a player. Again, so if he's back and now he's done this full season and he's healthy and stayed healthy, again, you'd expect him to step up again, make another leap forward, just based on that whole, just the mental recovery. So, yeah,
I really like the Donor signing. And I really like the Gagnon Lapierre signing. And Akeem Garcia, for me, is the most dangerous striker in the league. If you give him an inch, it's in the back of your net. And, he's going to do it to you every single time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and then you also you have Morelli. I believe they've re-signed Morelli, haven't they?
Yeah, I think they just announced that. So
Yeah. So,
I'm
I
pretty
mean,
sure.
the only question with him is he's a bit of a glass body, it's shown. So if he can stay healthy for a whole season, I mean, geez, you probably have the best top four in the league at the top for Halifax with those four players. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Calgary's going to have an argument there. No, serious. I'm telling you. Wait till you this Richard Luke as a player.
We'll have to wait
Yeah.
and see.
Yeah.
I'm glad that HFX has done as well as they have. Just the way the fans have got behind that team. It's nice to see them put out a quality product as well, and not just have fans show up, and support a losing club. It's nice to see them, be rewarded for that support and pack that stadium out there. The kitchen's going crazy, and hopefully we see some kitchen parties here in 2021. Why don't we just quickly shift now, talk about some Canadian performances from overseas. We'll talk about this a little bit too. We'll obviously focus a lot on CPL, but we want to talk about our Canadians, both men and women who are playing abroad as well. Sally, you are you coming around on Kyle Larin? What's going on there? I know you've been like the most anti Kyle Larin guy in the history of the world, but he's got 10 goals now. He scored again today for Turkey. So what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I'm finally willing to give him another shot up top for the boys in red. I mean, you just could you fault anyone for losing faith in the guy after those performances he had with the national team the first go around? I mean, that sitter open netter that he missed against El Salvador in the Gold Cup, that was bewildering. I mean, that really ended it for me. But yeah, I mean, he's got 10 goals in Turkey. Turkey's not a bad league. I mean, I was talking before about how Ruskov is coming over from playing in Romania. I would rate Turkey as a better league than Romanian league for sure. I think the Turkish league is definitely I guess if you want to call it a tier 2 top flight in Europe. I definitely think, because you always see one of, or if not multiple, of Besiktas, Fenerbahce, and Galatasaray in the Champions League group stage at least. On occasion, one of them will manage to actually break through into the knockout round. So, I mean, especially for these upcoming World Cup qualifiers against the four smaller nations, even though both Bermuda and Guyana are making me a tiny little bit nervous, but that's just the Voyageur in me coming out. Or not Guyana. Who the heck is the fourth? Is it Guyana, or is it? Who's that fourth team?
It's like Aruba and Bermuda and like, I don't know, some tiny nations. But the point is, we got to stop worrying about these games. But I agree that the paranoid V's stuck on H1, it comes back to get you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then on the women's side, I definitely think that, Janine Becky is still having a good season with Man City. She, to me, is still the future of the women's national team, at least for the next probably 2 women's World Cup cycles. I definitely think we need to just employ her up top as much as possible. She's quality. And I mean, she's playing on the second best club in the Women's Super League besides Chelsea, which features Jessie Fleming, of course, who's been getting minutes as well, which is awesome to see. But yeah, those are probably the 2 that I really wanted to talk about. So
it's a good little segue. Adrienne Leon was playing for West Ham today in the FA Cup quarters. She got an assist in a game against Durham, and they're actually going to play Chelsea in the semis for the Women's FA Cup, and that I think is the first weekend of February. So also want to shout out Kanisha Buchanan, named to UEFA's Women's Team of the Year yesterday, playing for Lyon. Lyon did the treble last year. They've won 5 Women's Champions League in a row. Like, they're just a crazy dominant. They've won 14 French Division 1 feminine titles in a row as well. So like, they're just so good.
Dynasty.
Yeah,
Dynasty.
and French as well. Jonathan David, nice to see him score again. This weekend too. Obviously, just a wild keeper error. I don't know how he spills that one, but good on David for charging in and just popping that home and giving his team the win.
I think that proves his football IQ too. I mean, you watch, like, every other player on the field was basically frozen except for David, who maintained his focus on what was happening and had already started that run in on goal. It's almost like he knew the keeper was going to spill it. It's like he had sight into the future that the keeper was going to spill that, because he was already 2 or 3 steps heading into the box by the time the keeper spilled that ball. And the keeper didn't have a hope in hell. I mean, he was on top of the ball before the keeper had even really started lunging at it. So yeah, it's unfortunate that his teammates aren't giving him the opportunities to finish like he should be getting. And that worries me a little bit, that maybe he's kind of not fallen out of favor necessarily with the manager, but rather with his teammates. Given the chance, I think he's definitely still the men's national team's number 9 without question.
They've got a young Yank too, that little team that I know a lot of the American guys are high on too. And I think they played him as a 2-top sometimes. But I think they're really, and I think I'm not sure if he's slightly younger than David, who's not old by any stretch, obviously being 20, but anyways, so good to see them going. And we'll do some more updates from players abroad. I think the one thing we want to talk about here at the very end is we stick with some women's football as well. There's a new, they call it semi-pro, pro-am league in the United Women's Soccer is what the league is. It's like the second tier women's league in the North American soccer pyramid behind NWSL. They're getting a team in St. Albert. Foothills has had a team for a couple of years now. They were in the final in 2019. They lost. Troy Flannery, the head coach of that team, is going to come up and he's going to coach and GM this team in St. Albert. I know, JP, you've worked a lot with guys like Chris Bedell, who's behind this, and obviously you were TD at Impact. This is huge for the women's game in this area, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, you're getting, when Troy took the technical director's job at St. Albert, leaving Foothills, he brought all that knowledge with him, so that was there to kind of, now he took the lead to create this team and obviously bring that to St. Albert. They've bought in, they've got a good clubhouse, they've got good facilities. So this is a really good fit. When you create in Alberta, this, someone already, I think, coined it, the female El Tráfico. So I don't know if that's El Tráfica, but
El Clásico.
El Tráfico. That's
you're thinking
the
LA.
One. Oh my goodness, my mind. How long has this podcast been?
Yeah.
So, So sorry. Yeah, I should know that El Clásico. My goodness. But the El Clásica. But anyhow, it is good for football here. And the nice thing is, though, I edit this and I can just edit that piece out.
No chance.
Yeah. So listen, when you're going to have these kind of internal provincial games now with some of the best female players in Edmonton versus some of the best female players in Calgary at a very good age, then this could only be good. And for young players coming up in both those clubs, that you see within your club, that there's now this structure for you, there's a pathway to kind of get to that next level, because the men have had it, boys have had it forever, and our female players have not. So wonderful to see it.
I was able to speak with Troy and with Chris and with Brittany Konjerski, who's one of the first players they've signed. They've signed almost a player a day for the last 2 weeks. And they're putting it up on their Twitter account. So follow them. I think it's at Impact FC _WS or UWS, pardon me. Like Heather Lund, the leading scorer all time for the Alberta Pandas university team. Tanya Boychuk, who people are familiar with from playing with Canada's youth teams. The best description that Troy said, it was a showcase for those 17 to 21-year-old players who are at university or going into university to train as a professional, and also for pros who are just looking to get themselves back on the map and that kind of thing. The 2019 championship MVP, Katarina Macarione, I probably butchered the last name, apologies, but she just signed with Lyon, and she was playing in that league 2 years ago.
Right.
So it's good quality league, and I'm excited to see it continue to grow. And obviously, when you stick a team up here and already have Foothills established, and then with Troy moving up, there's going to be a bit of a rivalry, and I think that's going to be really good.
Yeah, a lot of fun to watch, honestly. The only question mark, of course, is do you get across the border?
Yeah.
This will be the
that was the big concern. They're not sure how 2021 is going to work out for that. We'll see.
Well, maybe El Clásica just happens every weekend.
That's what I said. I was like, they're going to have to play Foothills like 17 times.
That's it.
It is a short season. I believe it runs from May till August. So it is kind of that collegiate short season. So it would be affected. I know that Troy said they were trying to do a bubble last year and it didn't wind up happening. They're broken up
Right.
into divisions as it is anyway. So maybe they could look at something like that. But obviously these are the only 2 teams in Canada, and that's going to create a little bit of some trickiness to that.
Right.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
that many games in a row will see the rise of both the Edmonton and Calgary Casuals.
Maybe.
Mhm.
Who knows? It's good to have just another option to go watch football. And I know that obviously the Foothills program is mainly Calgary-based players, some dinos, that kind of thing. Obviously, Troy, the coach with UFC. And then they've said that they want to sign as many local products from Edmonton and area, Northern Alberta as well, for this team. And they have mostly, I think they got 1 out of Victoria so far, and that's pretty much it. So good stuff there.
Yeah.
Anything else that you boys want to touch on before we take off? We might be running a little bit long here, but
Canada's having a camp. Doesn't really
Yeah.
matter too much.
they played each
Except
other
for-
in
yeah.
an exhibition game, and
They're going to play the Yanks.
No, they're not. The Yanks called in Trinidad.
Well, I heard that, but I thought they were still playing the Yanks
Oh, are they?
regardless. Yeah, somebody was saying that they're still playing the Yanks at some point, but maybe
They
they did change. I don't know.
They should. They're right. They're both training right beside each other.
Yeah,
Oh, they're
Americans-
boycotting Io.
Yeah, probably.
They're upset.
Anyways, yeah, they played a red versus white scrimmage. Theo Bear scored. It was a penalty taken that was stopped. Bear was there first to score on the rebound, and that was pretty much it. A lot of debutants in this camp, some that we would have liked to see, but stuck in England and other things like
Got
that.
some CPL representation.
Yep.
And ex-CPL representation. That's wonderful.
Yep,
Love that.
That's true. Bustos
And
is there.
Yeah. Amir
I think
Didic is there now,
I
so
think it was
deserved to be
Bustos'
there.
penalty that was stopped.
That's right.
Was
it was
it?
Bustos.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
yeah, it was.
Yeah. Well, he didn't miss against us in Game 7 in PEI.
No,
On a shot.
no, he
Wasn't a
didn't.
penalty, but
No,
yeah.
but yeah.
An
So
Edmonton goal was practically a magnet for the ball. So
It really was.
these things happen.
is that a tear, Jeff?
A
No,
little bit.
no. I just feel bad for our players. Yeah, that's it. I feel
I
bad
felt
for our
bad for
players.
CJ. Yeah, for sure. Poor
Yeah.
Connor and
Yeah.
Dylan
But
was-
some of those, I mean, honestly, some of those, what do you do? Wonder shots.
let's
Like
just say.
he's that goal there, Bustos, the set
Yeah.
piece by Aparicio,
Yeah.
the goal by
What a goal.
Kwame, the goal by Masta. There's 4 goals that really. Anyhow, I won't say what I want to say, but
Save some of that for.
but seriously
maybe
though, I
another
mean those,
podcast.
but there it is. This is football. This is football.
You had 7 games. I mean, if it was a regular season, you would have had 21 left. I don't know if you would have been able to climb all the way to the top, but who knows? You might have been get back in the playoff picture at some point, which made the Island game so difficult, obviously. But
Well, I
would've
can
been
assure you, we would not have been undefeated.
I was going to say it would have been remarkable to have
Or
seen
or
Edmonton
winless.
at 0-21. So
Yeah, that would not have happened.
all right, fellas, tell them where to find you on the socials. Sally, go ahead.
yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Jeff D Salisbury. Not too hard. I've the CPL logo done in the SK Selects colors, the gold, green, and black. And then I'm always chiming in with my 2 cents on a lot of the different CPL Facebook groups. So you can shoot some arrows at me on there too if you feel so inclined.
JP?
Yeah, I am Jeff_Paulus. Really original.
Yeah, you just keep disappearing, coming back, go away for a bit.
Oh yeah, no, I angered too many megas with my last account. Yeah, so I had to get off for my sanity and safety.
That's probably
Yeah.
fair.
Well, what about your account where you just recreate scenes from Austin Powers as Dr. Evil?
What's
You
that
look
one?
more
That's
like
what happened.
gold member.
Yeah. Listen, this is a family show. Do not talk about my gold member.
That's how we're gonna go out, I guess. You can
On
find
that
me,
note,
at Grayson Knudsen on Twitter. I don't know. I mostly talk about sports, talk about some other stuff, but a lot of hot takes, if you will. So that does it. Cynical
right.
Challenge. You can find us. What's our Twitter handle, Jeff? You made the account. What's the Twitter handle?
yeah, we are at the Cynical. Well, if you type, if you just put search the Cynical Challenge, there's only one.
That's right.
It's there. Yeah, but it's the Cynical Challenge, but challenge is CHAL with the number 1
There you
for
go.
whatever reason. Yeah. But the Cynical Challenge.
We'll try to do. I think we're gonna go weekly. I don't know what day of the week. We just kind of went Thursday today because it worked out for everyone. But figure it out and bring you regular gold, just like you've just watched for the last however long we've been on for. So that's it. That wraps it up. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks.
All right.
Cheers.